Everyone, welcome to our second session of our 2023 PD Extravaganza, this week-long workshop and presentational session series here at Extempore on Sketch. I welcome today for our second presentation, my colleagues, Haley Martinez and Holly Strand, here to discuss content-based language instruction for all of you. Just a couple of things before we get started. If you have any questions at any time, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll have 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the presentation for open question and answer. And what was the other thing? Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. The feedback slide at the end. Make sure you complete the feedback slide that Holly and Haley have at the end of their presentation. Get entered into a chance to win one of our giveaways and help Haley and Holly understand what they did well and things that they can take away from this. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to Haley and Holly.
Perfect. Like Grant said, my name is Holly Strand, and my colleague Haley and I, we're going to talk about content-based language instruction for multilingual learners today. Before we get started, in the chat, if you haven't done so already, let us know where you're from, what you teach, and if you feel comfortable with it, let us know something that most people don't know about you. Like everyone has said, my name is Holly. My background is in K-12 ESL education, most of which I spent co-teaching and implementing content-based language instructional strategies with teachers who had ELs in their classrooms, which here in Minnesota is most teachers. One thing people here probably don't know about me is that I collect houseplants, so I have over 150 houseplants.
All right, and I am Haley Martinez, and I taught dual language, bilingual education, middle school ESL, LOT as well. I taught Spanish, advanced Spanish courses. I live and have taught in the Dallas area. And something that most people don't know about me is the less I know about something, the better. I moved to Mexico after college, and I didn't research it at all. I just wanted to go and not know much about it. So that's kind of how I function. So glad y'all are here.
So our learning outcomes today, we want you to be able to describe the what, why, and how of CBLI, determine how presented strategies can be used in a content classroom or in your ESL classroom, and then identify opportunities for further learning, which we will have plenty of resources at the end and linked in Sketch for you to be able to access. A quick overview of what we're going to do, talk about what is CBLI, why should you use CBLI, strategies, and then, like Grant said, time at the end for questions. So before we start, I want you to think about what do race cars and content-based language instruction have in common. I'll give you about 20 seconds to write your guess in the chat. We'll think about what could race cars and content language instruction have in common. Sometimes they break down. That's a good guess. Thank you, Grant.
Thank you.
We all have a start. That's a really great analogy. They can go fast. Great. These are all great examples. What I want you to keep in mind is that for all of us teachers, linguistic and/or academic proficiency is always the goal. What we use to get there can be different. What we're going to focus on today is using content to reach our goal of linguistic and academic proficiency for students. So what is CBLI? CBLI is not an isolated practice. It isn't a one and done activity or lesson. It's a mindset of integrating language instruction with content area instruction. So whether you're teaching science, math, English language arts, there's reading and writing involved, meaning that you're not just a science teacher or a math teacher or an ELA teacher. You're also a reading teacher, you're a writing teacher, a vocabulary and grammar teacher. So CBLI is tier 1 instruction, meaning everyone gets it as a baseline support. It's not a replacement for specialized services, but rather a way of teaching that provides support for ELs and EBs outside of their specific EL instruction. Why should we use it? Like I alluded to earlier, we're all language teachers. As you can see in this map, many states have large EL populations, and all states in the United States have English learners and immersion bilinguals. We know that those populations are only going to continue to increase, and those populations are also becoming less centralized, meaning more English learners and EBs are going to be enrolling in suburban and rural schools who may not yet have the resources to support those populations. We know that CBLI is good for all students, not just English learners, and it will help close achievement gaps. CBLI can also be effectively implemented without large additional investments in staff or resources. In the same breath, though, we want to acknowledge that CBLI does have its shortcomings. It's not the gold standard. It's not even the silver standard. We know that dual language education is going to be the best option for ELs and EBs, but there are large financial barriers to implementing those programs, such as a lack of bilingual staff, adequate funding. All of those things can prevent bilingual education programs from being effectively implemented. So until those issues are addressed, which will definitely take some time, incorporating CBLI in your practice is going to be the better alternative to a pull-out only ESL program. There are 5 principles that we want you to keep in mind, and then 5 strategies that we'll discuss for you to implement in your class. When you see yourself as a language teacher, in addition to your current role, there's a responsibility to ensure that you are able to teach your content as well as the academic language a student needs to be successful in school and beyond. We want to take an additive approach, taking into consideration what the students can already do and building on top of that foundation, rather than taking a deficit approach and looking only at gaps. We want to help the kids make relevant connections. We'll take a balanced approach to ensure there's development in all domains. And we're going to implement strategies to provide equitable support for students to access learning in core classrooms. And we want to have and hold high and appropriate expectations for students in both language and content classrooms. The 5 strategies we're going to talk about: uncover the image, double vision, power write, and anticipation guides, and talk, read, talk, write will help you achieve these principles.
All right, so I know that Holly kind of previewed those 5 strategies, but that's exactly what we wanted to do for y'all today, is bring you 5 low prep, however, high yielding strategies that you can take away and start using in this upcoming school year. So let's go ahead and get started with our first strategy. This is a great strategy to use when you're opening up a unit, the beginning of a lesson, to see what students are already wondering or thinking about the topic. I used this strategy. They were always super engaged with it. And it really gets them, it switches things up and it gets them talking. So you're going to use an image, a covered image, to provide opportunities for students to ask questions, get them wondering, making predictions as each part of the image is revealed. And the domains that you're going to address are speaking, listening, and writing, all with this one strategy. So how does it work? So first, you're going to select an image. It can be content related. I know we have some teachers that are here that are ESL teachers. We do have some language teachers, which is totally great. All of these strategies will work for you as well. So find that image that will get students wondering about an upcoming unit or topic. During the activity, show the covered image to students, and slowly but surely you're going to uncover different squares. Ask the students, you start by asking students just general questions about what they think or wonder. Ask them to write questions down, write some of their observations, what they're thinking, and then you're going to have them turn and talk to each other. And after each uncover, just really listen and have them listen to others to hear what they're saying and what they're thinking. So continue to uncover parts of the image each time, asking more specific questions related to what they're seeing. And lastly, once the image is fully uncovered, ask more specific questions to get an idea of what's their schema. What do they know about this topic? Okay, so that was kind of the basis of it. Are you ready to try it? All right, so we're going to go kind of step by step. I'll ask you some questions and I want you to use the chat to answer them, and we'll kind of review some of y'all's responses. Okay, let's go. This is the first uncover. What do you see and what do you think you're looking at? Respond in the chat. What do you see and what do you think you're looking at? Green. So this can be for all levels. Thank you for asking that, Alejandro. Someone said rocks on a beach, some moss, a sculpture, rectangles. Okay, good. All good. Shrubs that are sculpted. Okay, perfect. Okay, second uncover. Where is this picture taken and what else are you looking at? Where is this picture taken and what else are you looking at? An ocean, Hawaiian seascape. Yep, y'all are seeing it. A rocky beach. Okay, the next uncover, you see it. What are these two people looking at? And what could they be watching? And maybe what are you wondering in this moment? What are they looking at? What could they be watching? Okay, some waves, paddlers, a ship, a boat. Oh, a monster. Good job, guys. All right, next one. Okay, where do you think they are? I think we have an idea of that one. But why are they at the beach after dark? We know it's dark. Why? Why are they there? Oh no, Lauren. Oh, amazing. Dance party. I like it. Watching the moon. Great answers. After sunset. Okay. All right, let's look at the last uncover. There it is. You see the full thing. Now I'm going to ask you some more questions. What are you seeing? And have you ever seen this before? What are you seeing? Have you ever seen this before? The chat is quiet. Does anyone know what this is?
Help, teacher.
Yes. Jessica, yeah, Jessica, good job. You got it. Yes. Perfect. Puerto Rico, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of. That's the main one I know of. So yeah, bioluminescent bays. Those are actually the organisms that with the movement of the water and the waves, they actually illuminate. So super, super cool. Okay. So let's keep on going. I do want you to think just for a second before we move, if you don't mind going back, Holly, just think about this strategy. Can you envision using this, with the students that you work with in your classroom? Just think for a moment and think about maybe something that you teach in your class that you might be able to use this strategy for. If you can think of something, throw it in the chat. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Maybe some people are thinking. Now, I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks of how to make this the most successful strategy in your classroom. Obviously, make sure the image is thought-provoking. Pre-write your questions. That definitely helped me because you want to make sure to start, really general and then really tailor down to the more specific questions. Give them time to debrief in between each uncover. Obviously in this online setting, we had you just share in the chat. Ideally, you're going to have them turn and talk. And it's really used to discover what do they already know about a topic. We have a couple ideas, a hook for a new lesson, honor perspectives. I love that. A great way to kick off a lesson and get students thinking. Thank y'all for sharing. Okay. All right, now we're on to the next one. It's called double vision. This is also another great strategy to open up a lesson, a unit, activate prior knowledge, and get an idea of where students might be at. This uses a video to provide meaningful listening practice that will inspire powerful and purposeful discussion. So it's taking a video clip to the next level and really get them thinking about the topic. So this is going to incorporate listening and speaking. All right, so how does this work? So you're going to select a short content-related video clip that will focus on either new content or maybe even some specific vocabulary that you want them to listen for during the second watch. So share the overview of the activity and kind of the focus points. The students will view the video, this is the kicker, without sound. Okay, so you're encouraging students to really focus on specific content, and you'll be surprised how much they're really paying attention because they have nothing to go off of that they can't hear. Students will take notes and discuss their observations. And then you'll view the video for a second time with sound. And you'll pause the video periodically to encourage students to discuss what they saw and what they heard. All right, it's time to try it. So just a quick recap before we actually play it. We're going to play it the first time without sound. And I want you to think about these two questions. What questions are bubbling up? And is there anything from the video that you can make a connection to, even though you're not hearing anything? Okay, feel free to take notes if you would like. And I think we're ready, Holly, if you want to go ahead and press play. We're going to only watch 1 minute, so hold on to it. Can you make it bigger, Holly? Is that possible? Thank you. Sorry. Don't worry about it. If it's too much of it, it's fine. So what are some questions bubbling up? Is there anything you can make a connection to? Was that our 1 minute? Are we still going? Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so in the chat, if you can write the answers to those questions, is there something that you can make a connection to? And is there any questions bubbling up for you? Oh, someone said a kipu. So you have some schema, Veronica. Anyone else? Oh, good question. What is it used for? That's an excellent question. Archaeological, yes. Looks like a site. Anyone else? Oh, very cool. What a great connection in math. Yeah, the truck. What are they doing? What are they doing there? Good questions. Okay, so now, oh, is it a lab? Okay, good question. She's wearing a coat. That's a good observation. All right, so now we're going to go back to the second viewing and we're going to listen with sound. Now, you have two different questions. What was the most interesting thing that you learned? And what questions do you still have? And I want you to focus on these words at the bottom, kipu, which we had Veronica already bring up, archaeological, right? Ancestors, knots, kipu Kamayos, and Incas. All right, let's go. Is there sound?
There should be.
We have confirmation. There's no sound.
Grant, do you have an option to screen share with sound?
You should be able to, you might have to reshare, but you can drag your slider up too on the video. You should be able to share the sound.
Click the box at the bottom left when you share the screen. Does that help?
Yeah, it should. She might have to reshare.
I don't have a box at the bottom left.
Try hitting play, Holly.
When you work with archaeological objects, you are like entering the world of your ancestors. I like to think that in a way they talk to us.
A quipu is an counting device made of cotton strings that use knots to represent numbers.
A quipu is the accountants of life. The quipus were made in Inca times by quipu camayos.
The Kibukamayos, the only ones who were able to read it, die and didn't pass the knowledge to the next generations. There's a lot of questions still to get answered. My biggest hope for Incahuasi is to be able to excavate all the site. Those are very well preserved because the environment of the Peruvian coast is very arid, so you have a very good preservation of any organic remain. This must be 600 years old, and as you can see the preservation.
All right. So if you can share in the chat the answers to the questions, what was the most interesting thing that you learned? And what questions do you still have? So take a couple seconds to do that. Yes, they represent numbers. Yeah, they're very well preserved. Anyone else? Good question. Good job. Great questions. Awesome. Okay, so I think you'll have a good idea of how this works. It's awesome to hear that someone had a little bit of schema about quipus beforehand. I traveled to Peru and traveled on the Inca Trail, and so I personally have a love for quipus and the Inca tribes. Okay, so can you think of any videos that you have shown before and can now switch it up in your class and use this double vision strategy? So just think a second if you have one that you've used. Yeah, like very similar to movie talk. Exactly. It's just adding that one component of, actually, yeah, you're right. The movie talk, it is silent. Yep. Great connection. All right, so let's talk about how to make this this strategy work in your classroom. So first, just make sure that the clip is short enough to watch twice. Select content vocabulary for highest impact. I gave you a few words to kind of hear for during the second viewing. Be strategic with the number of vocabulary words selected. You want to make sure to not give them too many. And use the editing button that is in Google Slides to help you trim the video as needed. And over here to the left, we gave you some ideas for how to use this in other content. So maybe for ELA, students could describe and analyze an interpretation of a dialogue. In math, articulate how the video teaches the process of simplifying fractions. Maybe for science, either watching a video about cell formation. And in history, maybe discuss their observations from a video to something that they have read in a text. All right, so next strategy. So this is a strategy that my students surprisingly would beg me for. I was always shocked how much they loved it, especially since it's writing, and sometimes students can be hesitant to write. The small addition of, making it a little bit of a personal competition really took the strategy to the next level. It's a great way to get students writing and talking and taking the focus off of grammar and accuracy and more on just the production and writing and sharing ideas. So allow students to write as much as they can with a series of words. This is no pressure writing, and obviously they're going to write, but they're also going to read their responses. Okay, so how does it work? So create a slide deck with pre-selected words that they'll be choosing from. Share an overview of the activity with students and some writing goals. Yeah. Tell students that they have 2 minutes to write as much as they can that they know about one of the words. So round 1 is just one word. The second round can be both words, and it's the same for round 3. So one or both words. Tell students to keep writing for the full 2 minutes. I usually would tell students, don't take your pen or pencil off the paper, just keep going. Don't worry about spelling. And then have them count their words after each time and repeat for all 3 rounds. And really the piece of counting their words, it's really to add a stretch goal for them. Just that added kind of sense of urgency. Hey, I'm going to write as much as I possibly can in that amount of time. Today, we're only going to do 1 minute, but during class, I would do 2. All right. Okay, so now just to review, those two words are appearing, and you're going to pick one to write for the 1 minute. Sounds good? Okay, and actually use the chat to record your writing. Go ahead and start. So fractions or division, you're going to write as much as you can in the chat right now. Worry about spelling, just get as much down as you can. Okay, time is up. Go ahead and click enter for the chat so we can see. Awesome, look at that. So great. So this is the whole reason that it's called Power Write, because you're just going to be so surprised by how much students are powering through their thoughts and adding just so much thought to just a couple words, right? Wonderful. Lots of ideas there. Okay, so now we're going to head to round 2. These are your 2 words, decimal and fractional part. Let's go. For the person that just joined, you're picking one or two of the words in round 2, and you're writing in the chat everything you know about those words. Add as many details as you can. You have plenty of time. Okay, hit enter. Yes, awesome. I loved the response we had from someone saying math, but man, look at y'all, you're doing so awesome. Wonderful. Okay, last round, your words are like fractions and equivalent fractions. Go. People are sending it in now. Great. All right. The last round, I have to say, it was a tough one. So great job. Great job. We did want to model that these strategies work well in any content. I know math, sometimes it's like, oh, writing about math, it's hard, but you did it, right? And our students can do it too. So thank you for participating and doing an awesome job. Okay, so to add another domain to the strategy, you could have students share their writing. So this would allow them to be able to share their thoughts. Maybe they don't have a lot of schema about fractions and equivalent fractions, but they can gain insight by hearing someone else, maybe something they hadn't thought of, or just they don't have a ton of schema about. But make sure the overall focus is to produce and not the pressure of correcting. So some tips and tricks: encourage students, obviously, not to focus on grammar. Make it a competition with yourself, right? You have the students count their numbers. Hey, next time I'm going to beat it. And give them time to share their writing at the end.
All right, so the next strategy we're going to talk about is anticipation guides. The goal of anticipation guides to promote curiosity and establish prior knowledge for students. You can also use the statements in the anticipation guide to cue students to focus on key ideas and find evidence in their reading to kind of elevate the strategy if it's appropriate for the level of the students. Afterwards, you can encourage students to revise their answers based on new information, and this strategy primarily targets reading. So how does this work? Before the activity, you'll introduce the students to the text. If there are images and a title, have them review the title and the images, kind of think ahead to what this could be about. You'll have a series of statements that students will respond to the statements using the before reading column of the chart. During the activity, students are going to read the given text. If you have a procedure for reading in your classroom, they should follow that procedure. If you don't have a reading procedure in your classroom already, I've linked an article in the resources we will share with you at the end of the presentation with a few different options you might want to try out in this upcoming school year. After their reading, students will respond to the statements using the after reading column. And then after the activity, students are going to revisit and compare their before and after responses. If their answer was incorrect, they should determine why. So we're going to try it out. We're going to read a very short article about a country called Guatemala. Take about 30 seconds to read the statements in the middle here. And think about if you agree or disagree with each statement. You can write it in the chat if you would like to. If you are ready to do that, you can give it about 30 seconds. Perfect. So we're going to read a super short article. You'll have about 2 minutes. Once you've finished reading, you're going to re-answer the 4 statements. I'll put those in the chat here shortly as well. If your answer changed, explain why. Let's see. There we go. So take a moment, reread the statements in the center of the anticipation guide. Now we're going to be answering as if we had, as we have finished reading. You can determine if you agree or disagree with each statement. And then again, you would have the students explain why their thinking changed. For older students or for higher level students, you would want them to cite text evidence, have them really get into the why behind changing if they agree or disagree. Oh, awesome. I see somebody is actually answering. Perfect. And so you guys, obviously this is geared towards more novice students. So you got all of the statements right. You wouldn't necessarily need to reflect on why you changed your thinking. It could also still be a great opportunity to cite the text evidence and maybe extrapolate based on what you already know about Guatemala. I'm not 100% sure how to clear out the drawings though. There we go. Perfect. So
I
some
took care of it. Thanks, Emily.
perfect. Some tips when using anticipation guides, you want to keep the statements really short. Consider pairing or grouping the students to incorporate some speaking and listening practice as well. That can also be great for novice students to pair them with a little bit higher level student so that they have someone to kind of lean on throughout the activity. You can also use just images for newcomers or younger students. Anticipation guides, in my experience, I really liked using them in science and social studies. I found that it really got the students to think more deeply about the topic and retain information for longer. Some extension opportunities, like I said, have students highlight their evidence while reading. Do a gallery walk with the completed anticipation guides. Have students compare their answers. You can even have them defend their answers to kind of incorporate even more speaking in an academic context. Oh no, now I'm stuck annotating. There we go.
Awesome. Okay, so this is the strategy of all strategies, and it's because you're going to hit all 4 domains with this strategy. This is probably something that you've probably used it already and maybe practiced in some capacity, but that's the beauty of the strategy, is that it's so tailorable to the needs of your content, to your lesson, your unit, and even your students and their proficiency levels. So as you see here on the left, this infographic, you can see the versatility of this, this strategy and how you can differentiate it depending on the proficiency levels of your students, or even maybe your Spanish students or your Chinese students. So for today, we're going to be focusing on the expanding level as we practice this strategy. So yes, how does it work? Select a text that will provide students information about a topic. During the activity, you're going to share an overview. The first one is talk. The first talk, you're going to invite students to talk about their schema or their connection to the topic. The R stands for read. So students will read a short text appropriate to their proficiency level. Their second talk, you're going to have them talk about their findings from the text and ask questions. And lastly is write. So a quick write to show understanding of the topic. So now let's try it. We're actually going to go to breakout rooms to do the first 3 steps. So you're going to do the talk, the read, and the second talk within your breakout room. And then finally, we're going to come back and do a poll everywhere as your write share piece. Okay. The first talk, you're going to answer these 2 questions. What do you know about this topic? And can you make any connections? The passage that we're going to have you read is linked here on the book. And then the next page, do we have access to that, Grant? I know that they have access to the slides. Can they click?
I'm gonna if it's linked. Yeah, I was actually just about to share the link to the slide. If the link is linked within the slides, they should be able to access it.
Okay, and let us know if it's not, and we can easily share it out for you. So it's linked where the book is, and then on the next page, it's also linked in the passage. The second talk, you're going to share with your group your overall understandings of the text, any wonderings, any questions, and any implications, from the text. Okay, everyone ready? Let me go ahead and set our breakout rooms really quick. Right. Almost there. Any questions before we head out? If you do, unmute and we can answer them. All right, I think we're good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and assign you, and we'll try to pop in and answer any questions if there are any. I think all you need to do is just join your room. Let us know if you need any help getting to your room. We hope that I actually popped into a couple rooms. Y'all had some really good conversations going on. So thank you for sharing. We actually had a participant share her experience living and hearing the coquille. So very, very cool. Let's see. All right. So now we're going to respond through our poll everywhere. So Holly, do I just share and that will work?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go here. Does this look right? My screen went away. Do you see the poll everywhere, Holly?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Wonderful. So all you need to do is you just need to click on that link on the screen. Let us know if you need it in the chat and we can get that to you.
Haley, I've used poll everywhere before. You need to activate the presentation in order for people to
have.
respond. So you have to log in from like the users, the host side, and then activate it.
Yeah, okay. Let me, why can I not see? Let me stop sharing real quick so I can see my screen.
It's up, Haley. It's good.
Is it working?
Yeah, we were able to respond.
Let me see if it's showing.
You might have to show a different slide in order for the responses to appear for me.
That's so weird. Let me just sign in and see if it's going to pop up now. Your response URL. It still says waiting for response. I'm not sure why. Well, let's just, y'all get the gist of how it's working, right? Can maybe Grant or Holly, can y'all share? Can you see some of the responses?
There we go.
There we go. Perfect. So really the idea is just to have students share, what they discussed, maybe some things that they learned. There's some more responses. Awesome. Just get them talking about the topic and share, what they talked about in their breakout rooms. Thank y'all for participating in that strategy. All right, so some tips and tricks. So the idea is to, use the, Krashen's I+1, showing the benefit of having a text just a little bit beyond their current language level, which, is going to be supportive to them to be able to talk about that reading, but also the stretch, so it's not too frustrating for them, and they'll be able to comprehend and discuss. So task, question, text, they're all customizable to meet the student's proficiency level. The more you practice, the quicker this entire process becomes, and it follows the model of chunk, chew, check. So you're going to chunk the information, you're going to give them time to chew on it, and then you're going to check for comprehension. Holly, I think you're on mute.
There we go. That is what we have for you guys today. So if you want to take a second, you can write down your reflections and questions in the chat here. Write down which strategy you want to try first. How has your understanding of CBLI changed? What resources do you still need to start successfully implementing CBLI? If you have questions or want clarification, this would be a great time to write those in the chat or unmute and chime in, and we'll start addressing those as well. All of our slides and additional resources will be available to you, and those are linked in Sketch. Thank you for coming, May.
Yes, thank you for attending, everyone. I think someone asked for the link. Do we have the link? I'm going to add it to the chat real quick.
That's a good idea, Sonia, to combine the power writing with double vision.
Love it.
2 for 1 there.
So glad that they were helpful, Meg, and not overwhelming. That was our point. So good feedback. Thank you.
All right. The resources are linked. And then if you can scan the QR code for feedback or type in the link, let us know what went well and what we could improve on. And we look forward to seeing you guys again soon. We will also stick around in case there are additional questions. Otherwise, thank you all for attending, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Yeah.